Okay, today we're going to talk about this article I found on CNN.com, fair use. The article talks about Trump's decision to redo the educational department or do away with the educational department and bring education to the states so the states would have more control over education. Trump delivers on a generational conservative goal, but it could be risky for Republicans as well as students. That is the name of the article. And the article states President Donald Trump is claiming generational wins for the Republican Party on the cultural and ideological battlefield of education, which MAGA supporters see as a hostile bastion of liberal power ripe for disruption. In a move he describes as 45 years in the making, Trump seated among children at desks in a mock classroom set up in the White House, signed an executive order designed to obliterate the Department of Education. It sounds strange, doesn't it? Department of Education, we're going to eliminate it. Trump said, aware that he's unlikely to get Congress to vote to abolish the agency, but that he can suffocate it from the inside anyway. And the article goes on to say Republicans see the department as a hotbed of liberal activism, a source of woke social policies on diversity and inclusion, and an ally of teachers unions, which are a foundation of Democratic Party. A sense among GOP voters that the department promotes values anti-ethical to conservative principles was exacerbated by school closures during the pandemic and by debate about how to treat transgender students. But Trump does not just have K through 12 education in his sights as he attempts to use aggressive executive power in his second term. The administration is piling pressure on elite universities over curriculums. It's cutting hundreds of millions of dollars in research grants as part of the purge of the federal government. And it is provoking fear on campuses with its hardline immigration policies that have targeted several academics and activists. The approach has caused fears about government interference in higher education and about the suppression of the constitutional right to free speech, which is only underscored when it protects rhetoric. Rhetoric that many Americans view as unacceptable. The crackdown also raised the prospect that an American national jewel, the global power, reach, and reputation of scientific research at U.S. college could be damaged and that there could be a drain of scientific brains and funding to foreign nations. Just last week, for instance, Johns Hopkins University announced that it was cutting 2,000 jobs across 44 countries after it lost $800 million in funding during the effort to dismantle the U.S. Agency for International Development. And the article goes on to say Trump takes aim at elite universities. Elite universities, especially are braced for an escalation in the Trump's Trump administration's campaign, since they are regarded in the GOP as incubators of liberal protests and mores that the MAGA movement seeks to eradicate. Okay, basically, to sum this article up, it goes over Trump's reasons for wanting to do away with the Department of Education. And I had looked at some news reports that he did, and there was one thing that stood out to me in the speech he made. He looked at all the statistics of the achievement of children in school. A lot of the children can't even read or write. Well, they're reading at a low level, and then some of them don't even know how to write in cursive. And these are high school students, and I found that to be real shocking, that they're reading on a third grade level. And I'm going to be a buck with it and be blunt about it. Most of these children, some of them, some white children are affected by this, and some, mostly um, black children are affected by it, Black American children. And I give an example of a news report that I was looking at about Chicago, and I was taken aback at how many high school students graduated and didn't even know how to reading at a third grade level. And I'm like, and the first thing I thought was, what are the teachers doing? I mean, and quite natural. I'm quite sure the parents complained about this, but sometimes the parents' voices are not heard. I mean, when you're a working parent, or say it's a two-parent household or a one-parent household, these parents, they take their children to school, and they think that the teachers are doing what they're supposed to be doing, what their job description that they state they're doing, that they're there teaching the children. And half the time, and I've been in that situation. Some of the times Black children are neglected in these schools as far as education. And it's not just white teachers doing it. You have some Black teachers that don't do their job. A lot of the teachers are only there for a paycheck, and don't let them have a problem with the mother. Some of them, they come to work with their personal problems, and they take it out on the children and say they don't like the parent, so they're going to take it out on the child, have a child not some teachers have a pick on some. I mean, and it's sad. It's very sad. Some of the teachers have a pick with some of the children, not wanting them to, not doing their job by helping them learn. And and not to sound, not to put teachers in a bad light. There are good teachers that actually do their job, but some of the teachers, are there just for a paycheck. You know, and the teachers. I'll just be real about the teachers. When I was coming up, I had like maybe one or two bad teachers, and most of them were pretty good. But today the children have a worse education, and just like Trump said, in a news report I was looking at, he said that the numbers of the statistics of what the children are learning is worse today than it was years ago. I mean, now come on now. I mean, America is supposed to be an innovative country, supposedly a rich country, and then you have third world countries that have better education. So I think I kind of agree with Donald Trump as far as bringing it back to the states, because maybe there would be more oversight, in education. And then about the woke with the liberal activism, to me, that doesn't have no place in the school as far as your sexuality. That should be something discussed at home with the parents. You know what I'm saying? Let the young people become adults, and if they choose to be in the LGBTQ, fine. That is more for adults. And then education is a place of learning. These kids, and the statistics shows that there are a lot of kids reading and comprehension scores are below level. Math, they're in high school and can't even add. I mean, come on now, come on. You know, and I believe the Department of Education has corruption in it, just like any other agency. There was no oversight. You know, when parents trust the teachers, trust the school, they bring their kids to school. They count on their kids getting especially if they're dealing with the public schools, they're counting on their kids to get a good education. I mean, the children are there for 8 hours, and then during that time, what are the teachers doing? Chewing gum and eating their lunch, and then a lot of it has to do with, I mean, I'm not to say that there are no good teachers. There are good teachers, but we have to hold those accountable that are not doing their job. I mean, that's the problem today. There is no accountability. I mean, no matter what occupation, what job, people have to be accountable, especially when you're dealing with children and education. Like they say, the young generation are the future leaders. And then education is important. I mean, if the teacher doesn't love what they're doing and doesn't want to do the work to help the children with education, they don't need to be there. You know, um, they need to have teachers, and then the teachers union hold on to the bad teachers. Probably that's probably so hard to get rid of them. You know, I mean, it's just sad. It really is. And we're at a time where a lot of people don't have integrity. A sense of what's right and what's wrong, and the poor, and sometimes the children suffer because misguided adults that don't know, they act like they don't know or probably don't know what's right or what's wrong. I mean, it's real sad. It's real sad. It is very sad. And then some people say, well, the teacher can't do all the work. The parent is supposed to reinforce the learning that they learn in school, but you can't put it all on the parent. Okay, the teacher job is to create the curriculum, to implement the curriculum to the child, and assign them the homework where they can go home and do the homework. I know in some cases, not the parent might be so caught up with work, and not supervising the child. I understand that needs to be worked out too, but still, you know, teachers should do their job also. Everyone has to have accountability in this. And I mean, this is 2025. You mean to tell me a high school student doesn't know how to read or write? It's something wrong with that picture. You know what I'm saying? And as far as the liberal and activism, they need to leave that outside the school. Leave the children alone. Let children be children. Let them grow up and become adults. And then, you know, um, when they get in high school, or leave it to the parent to explain it to them. When they when they get in high school and graduate and become an adult, let them make those decisions themselves. But while they're in school, I think that the schools need to stick to the basics. Education. I mean, the biggest problem I had with the Democratic Party before the election was it seemed like they quote unquote were going after targeting the children, pushing something on the children and the adults, pushing something that everyone has a choice. Everyone has a choice, and all I can say on that is let children be children and let them grow into adults and make their own decisions. But education, they need to leave that activism. It's okay for young people to learn about history and maybe the process of government, like learn about the president and the Democrat and the Republican, but just leave all those social issues out the classroom. And I kind of agree with Trump on that. That's not really a place in education. They should be learning basic education like math, writing, reading. You know, um, it's a shame. And that's not right. I mean, parents do their part to encourage their child to learn, but that's not right to dump it all on a parent. Most of the time when people are not doing their job, they like to put all the responsibility on somebody else and use sometimes I think they use parents as a cop out, as an excuse for not doing their job. But the truth always comes out. It's a shame. And hopefully this will help with education in schools. That the focus would be on the children learning and it could go back to real education, learning, because education is important. These children do need to read. They're just as smart as all the other children, no matter what a child race is. They are capable of learning. If a if animals can learn and do simple things, not to compare human beings to animals, but on a hierarchy level, the human being is the highest, one of God's greatest creations. All children should be able to learn no matter what their color is, their race, their ethnicity. They should have access to good education, and that's what public school was for, not to bring in all your social problems, and all that social stuff is supposed to be at home with the parent. The only thing the teacher ought to be teaching is about reading, writing, and arithmetic, and history, science, go back to the basics. Leave all the other things, you can't replace the parent. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times I got that vibe when my son was in school. It's like they want to take over the parent job. No, you do your job, what you're paid to do. You teach arithmetic, math, and science. You let me raise my child the way I want to. You know what I'm saying? And instill values in him. I mean, you can't take the right of the parent away, and a lot of vibe I was getting from the Democrat Party was they kind of don't promote family, like the mother and the father. It's okay. I know there's different kind of families, like single parent homes, and then the mother and father, but nothing replaces the mother and the father. Ideally, the idea of a two-parent household is the main goal. And I know life is not perfect. Sometimes a spouse will pass away, or the adults, the mother and father might get a divorce. But you know what? The main thing, they care about that child. And I kind of agree with Trump on this. That there does need to be some kind of reform in education. And maybe the move that Trump is making will give the states more leverage to go back to education and leave all the social activism out the school, because it's about reading, writing, it's about learning. And I remember when I was a child, I loved education. Everyone should get education, and it helps in life. I mean, um, people need to start society has to let children be children and just let them grow. You know, leave all the leave all the hard stuff to the adults, the social issues, the racism. What's up to the parent what they want to teach in the home. But hopefully the parent is a good parent, and or the parents, the mother and the father, instill good values in their children. But school should be a place of learning, and that's my commentary on this topic. And you can comment in the comment area. Let me know. Let's talk about it. Let me know how you feel about the about Trump move to do away with the Department of Education and bring it back to the states so the states have more oversight over education. And hopefully it's a good move, and they do need to make some changes. It should be more about the children and not about maybe hopefully they get people with a lot more integrity in the school system. Because during COVID, a whole lot of things were coming out. It's like the oligarch was in the school system. A lot of these teachers, some of them, just like anything, some teachers, they have good teachers, then you have bad. Some of them I don't think need to be working because I don't think they too much. It's all about self. It should be about the children, and education. I think if you're going to be a teacher, you ought to go into that field and think about teaching children, not taking over being their parents, because some of these teachers don't have children, and so it's not about personal issues, about education, But that's my commentary and opinion on that. You can always leave a comment in the comment area, about this subject. And peace and blessings, and you have a nice evening. And maybe things will get better, and I'm not to say that I'm a Trump supporter. Well, I do agree, all the bad things that were going on with the Democrats, it will cause you to lean toward Trump. But Trump has done some good things. I'm going to be honest. I'll support a politician that does good things that I see. And he does so far he has done some good things. I know I heard something about the he had revoked the desegregation um law, and people were talking about that. But then once I looked it up and I did my own research and read about it, he was just going after DEI, diversity exclusion, diversity inclusion. And my opinion about that is, I had a problem. I accept everybody. I love everybody, but I just had a problem with them targeting children. Talking about a man could go in the bathroom with a young girl. I had a big problem with that. And I'm going to be honest. I don't think no man need to be in no bathroom with a little girl. With a wig on, because it reminds me of the movie Psycho. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna be. I mean, you gotta have common sense nowadays. And I would want my, I have a granddaughter, but if I had a daughter, or my granddaughter, I wouldn't want her in the bathroom with no man. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I had when I used to take my son to the bathroom when he was young, I was worried about him in the men's bathroom. I used to stand by the door because there's so many weirdos out here, and that opens the door to it. when you do things that are out of order, it causes a lot of chaos. I think women should go in their bathroom, and and children should be safe. I mean, I think if things that when it comes to sexual orientation, that's a private matter. That's more for the adults. Children need to be left out of it. They're innocent. Wait till they become an adult and let them make their own decisions. That's where I'm at on that. And it could be some things. It's some things that I disagree that Trump has did. I heard that he pardoned some police officer that unjustly killed a black man on a motorcycle. I forgot the name of that, the name of the man. But when I have time to go into that, I'll have to look it up and get the name and all that. But I'm not going to cover that today. But the topic today is Department of the removal of the Department of Education. And I might not agree with everything that Trump does, but I just look at the good things that a politician does to improve the communities. And hopefully what comes out of this will be more good teachers. I'm not saying that there are no good teachers. I'm just talking about the bad. You have to talk about the bad things in order to improve things. And there are good teachers. I had met some good teachers. And a lot of parents, they put their trust in teachers. They leave their child there. And then and I've been in that situation where I had came to pick up my son, and this teacher was just talking all off the wall, to me, and I was like, hey, it was one instance that I had to homeschool my son, when he was real young, because the teacher was just so off, her attitude and everything, and those kind of people don't need to be in the classroom. So it lets a person know, a parent, especially a parent, know that you don't care about your job or the child. You're not there for education to teach young people. You're there to bring your problems there. It's about self. So hopefully, things will be good when it goes back to the states. But the only thing I'm worried about, like in these Democrat states, I'm just saying. But and I live in a Democrat state, and I had to kind of navigate, but maybe things will improve, you know. And like they say, there is always an option to homeschool, because there was one point where I had to homeschool because you have to put your foot down as a parent, and a lot of times people think they just gonna take over and do what they want to do, and that's some bull crap, and I'm gonna be a buck, that's some bullshit. Hey, I'm this child mother, or if it's a man, he's their father, and he has a say in what he wants his child to learn. And if he doesn't want his child to learn about all social issues that don't have anything to do with education, and it's okay for parents to worry about the safety of their children, because when you drop your kid off, you expect for them to be okay when you pick them back up. Not you don't want to your child to go to a school and they're destroying their mind. They're supposed to learning is supposed to build a foundation for children to advance when they get older and graduate, and have the skills to work, or do great things, be creative, or be innovative. Not, we just, maybe things will get better, And I was just talking about all the issues I've seen and heard from other parents that they had to endure. It's sad, but there are teachers that have integrity and, they do the right thing, but it just discourages you when you come across teachers that